and welcome to the Lausitzring. It's the 8th race weekend of the DTM season 2014, and here is the man who could possibly snatch the title this weekend, Marco Wittmann. Quite frankly, what is going through in your head knowing that you could possibly be champion 2014 today?
Actually not a lot. I try to make my race like I always do, so the preparations are done. And now I'm looking forward to the race. I think it will be an exciting one, and I just try to be calm and to do my best.
And also your family is here this weekend. Is that especially important?
Yeah, but actually they are at every race, so they are always supporting me, and it's always nice. I mean, we went through my career always together, and it's always nice to have such a support from my family, and of course they are also today here.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you very much. And here are the highlights. Enjoy.
The race in the Lausitz region, the track in Brandenburg, in the shadow of the gigantic lignite extraction machines, boasts a rich tradition in the DTM. The circuit represents a highlight for the drivers every year, especially the Mercedes men, as the track has frequently provided rich pickings for the Stuttgart-manufactured cars. Christian Vitor is the best of the Mercedes drivers in the championship. And the 2013 winner, Gary Paffett, well, they'll certainly be hoping for good results. The youngster Pascal Wehrlein, who scored points at the Nürburgring, is also determined to do well. However, their rivals from Audi are just as motivated. The teams from Ingolstadt have gone more than a year since winning in the DTM, so maybe they can end that poor run at the Lausitzring. And in terms of the championship, winning is a must, because only second place Matthias Ekström, third placed Eduardo Mortara, or the reigning champion Mike Rockenfeller can now prevent the dominant driver of 2014, BMW ace Marco Wittmann, from claiming the championship with 2 races to spare. The first of his 3 match balls comes here at the Lausitzring, where he can certainly expect support from fellow BMW men Martin Tomczyk and also from Bruno Spengler. He was the winner here in 2012, and we join him now for an introductory lap of the Lausitzring.
Hi guys, welcome here in Lausitzring. I will bring you now to a fast lap on this track. So here we come in the oval corner, which can be challenging in the rain sometimes if there is a lot of water on the track. Main straight, upshifting, it's pretty bumpy here on this main straight, as you can see. Now the braking point is very late and very tricky as well, because it's bumpy through the whole braking phase, so that's a bit of a tricky side. Now we come here in the left-hander, just a little lift in third gear, pretty quick corner. Just a little braking now for the right-hander, second gear. Lift a bit for the left, still second gear, and then early on the power, also difficult there because of the bumps. The next one is a interesting corner. You can brake very, very late, 50 at the 50 sign. And early on the power again, very bumpy the exit here. And we go into that fast right-hander, which is also tricky and bumpy, and important to be early on the power for the long straight behind. Could be overtaking there in the next corner. Now comes a heavy braking down to second gear. Early on power, the car straight. The right-hander is flat here in fourth gear. Now downshift 2 gears and brake deep into the corner, up to the curb on the power. Then be early on the power and the car straight for the long straight, very important. A lot of overtakings will come here with the DRS during the race. And now we're back on start finish, and it wasn't a too bad lap, I would say. I do a last one.
And so we have a surprise pole sitter in the Lausitz. Pascal Wehrlein is overjoyed with first place, the best qualifying result of his DTM career. The youngest driver in the history of the series put smiles on Mercedes-Benz faces. The Mark's long run of success at the track could be said to continue.
I'm very happy, very proud of the team, because we put it all together. I have to say thanks a lot.
The youngster will be pursued by a crop of seasoned veterans. Matthias Ekström and Jamie Green will start from second and third, with Timo Scheider rounding off a good performance by Audi in fourth place. That elusive first victory of the season, well, it could come here at the Lausitzring.
It's always nice to qualify on front row, and I mean second is great, not fantastic, but from there you can still have a good race. So I will go to bed and have some sweet dreams. So what you can make out of this for tomorrow.
Well, thank you, Matthias Ekström. But in terms of consistency, Marco Wittmann is the man that continues to set the standards. The championship leader starts from 7th on the grid. That means the title is well within his grasp.
In Q3 to be there, it's quite nice. But of course, the aim is not P7. We want to start more in front, but actually tomorrow I think is some more possible.
But banks of fog and low-lying cloud cause significant delays in the Lausitz, largely because the rescue helicopter cannot fly in these conditions. The entire free practice session is reduced to a 15-minute warm-up, so qualifying at the Lausitzring involves metaphorically accelerating from 0 to 100 in the shortest imaginable time.
Conditions are the same for everybody, so yeah, we have to just make the best out of the situation that we have now for tomorrow in the race. Free practice, we've seen that our cars are quite competitive, and for tomorrow in the race with a good strategy, there is still a big job for us to do.
Well, despite the weather, we are finally underway and BMW immediately run into trouble. The first session is suspended when Joey Hand spins off into the gravel. Another batch of BMW men failed to survive the second session. Bruno Spengler's 17th place symbolises a very disappointing Saturday.
We have to see what we are doing wrong for qualifying, because we never really find performance this year in qualifying. We are struggling a lot. So we have to analyze deep into it and get ready for the last 2 races.
For Mercedes-Benz, Team Muka Motorsport catch the eye. Daniel Juncadella posts an impressive 5th place. And the DTM newcomer Vitaly Petrov registers his best qualifying result in the series so far and banks P14.
I think if the car will feel like it was today, I think we can plan have at least some points. Anyway, we'll be fight quite hard for tomorrow.
Let's take another look at the result from qualifying in the Lausitz. Pascal Wehrlein causes a few raised eyebrows with pole. He has a clutch of Audis right behind him though, and they want their first win of 2014. Paffett starts from 8th with Glock, the best of the BMW drivers, after Wittmann in 9th. Edo Mortara can only manage P13, and former champions Tomczyk and De Resta are stranded in P21 and P22. A 64-point lead means we have our first match ball. 4th place would definitely be enough for Marco Wittmann to seal the Drivers' Championship here at the Lausitzring, with 2 races still to go.
I'm now here with Dieter Gass. 10 times you ended up on the podium, which is absolutely amazing. However, no victory this season. Why do you think is it so difficult for Audi this year to actually win a race?
That's a difficult question, actually. I mean, we have seen a very strong performance of most of our drivers all season. We have collected many podiums, as you said. But for some reason, we haven't managed really to get to the top spot at the end of the race. I think it starts to be a little bit annoying for us, really, because when you see the performance is there, when you see the whole team is there, and you always have somebody, for whatever reason, in front of you, it starts to be difficult to digest, yeah.
Now, the Lausitzring is not exactly the favorite track of Audi. Last time you won here was 3 years ago with Martin Tomczyk. What has to happen today that you hopefully will win?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so much looking into statistics and what has happened previous years on this very track. I'm looking at the race today, and if I look at the grid, we have 3 really extremely strong contenders right behind Pascal Wehrlein on pole position. And I think any of them is able to win the race. I think Matthias is in the best position at the start, which is very good to see. I'm really glad for him, because he struggled a bit in the qualifying session so far this season. Now he is in top spot. We know what he can deliver in the races, so he's in a very good position to go for victory. But as well, we shouldn't neglect Timo and as well Jamie. Both of them were quite unlucky over this season, especially for Jamie, and over the past 1.5 years for Timo. So both of them are extremely hungry. They have a fast car, and really we will try to go for that victory.
I'm sure you will. Thank you very much. Best of luck.
So a 64-point lead and still 2 races to go after the Lausitzring. Well, Marco Wittmann's sense of anticipation must be great as we reach race day. Of course, it would make the young man from Firth the earliest champion in the history of the new DTM since the relaunch in the year 2000 if he manages to seal it this weekend. Well, the race day weather here in the Lausitz remains rather uninviting, I'm afraid. It's a case of mixed conditions, but doing nothing to dampen the spirits of either the drivers or the fans. As always, the pre-race parade, a bit special for everyone involved. The Mercedes crew took to the track in a World Cup truck, and just maybe that's a good omen for the race. The BMW drivers and the Audi drivers preferring the normal mode of transport, cabriolets from the manufacturers. The former DTM champion Paul di Resta not in a particularly good mood as he starts from a lowly 21st place on a track where Mercedes would normally expect to do well. He's having a very average season so far and his DTM comeback cannot be described as successful. The former F1 driver has posted 2 fourth places but otherwise no further points to his name. An equally disappointing year for Augusto Farfus, who starts just 1 position ahead of di Resta. The Brazilian, accustomed to success, has only finished on the podium once in 2014, and that was his P2 in Spielberg. That's certainly way below his own expectations. And that also holds true for fellow BMW man Bruno Spengler. The 2012 champion has yet to win this season. His best performance so far, 3rd in Hungary, 2nd in Russia. The Canadian is nowhere in the championship standings and P16 in qualifying at the Lausitzring. And that holds out little hope of much improvement. One of the drivers who could yet prevent Marco Wittmann wrapping up the title this weekend is Eduardo Mortara. He lies 3rd in the standings but will need to move up through the field very fast. His prospects from P13 on the grid, maybe not that great. Mercedes man Robert Wickens, he starts 1 position ahead of Eduardo Mortara, but the damp conditions usually suit the young Canadian. His victory at the Norris Ring proved how good he is when the rain comes down, so Wickens will be not too disheartened by P12 on the grid. That also goes for stablemate Christian Vitouris in P11. He has won once this season. That was also in the rain in Oschersleben. It would be foolish to ignore Vitouris. And no one whatsoever is going to ignore fellow Mercedes racer Pascal Wehrlein, who sensationally starts from P1.
I'm here with Pascal Wehrlein. It is youngster time, the youngest pole setter ever in the DTM history. And if you win today's race, you will be the youngest man to ever win the DTM. Are you more nervous at a race like this, knowing that?
No, I'm not nervous, but excited for sure. Now we have tricky conditions. We don't know yet if we go out on options or on wet tires. So today will be a very difficult race, and strategy-wise it will be also very difficult, so let's see and go for it.
So in P10 we find defending champion Mike Rockenfeller, who's 4th in the championship on 53 points. By the end of the race in the Lausitz, he could officially be the outgoing champion. Now to prevent that, he needs to finish first and hope that 4 other drivers also beat Marco Wittmann to the line. A big ask from this grid position, especially as he has this guy, the fellow BMW driver Timo Glock, directly in front of him. The former F1 ace will certainly do what he can to help the young championship leader wrap up the title. Timo himself is perhaps disappointed with his 2nd year in the DTM, but he could now make a decisive contribution to BMW taking the driver's crown. Gary Paffett starts from P8, the former champion, desperate to put a few more points on the board. He's only managed that once this season when he came 8th in the first race at Hockenheim. And P7, we have the man who could become the youngest DTM champion of all time at the Lausitzring, Marco Wittmann. The last time any driver sealed the crown 3 races from the end was in 2001, when the feat was achieved by Mr. DTM Bernd Schneider. Is Wittmann poised to make series history? And would it delight his boss, Mr. Jens Marquardt? He's with Verena.
You've got Marco Wittmann in P7, and today is going to be a crucial race because today can be decided if he's going to snatch the title or not. Of course, he still has 2 other races to go, if not. But how do you feel about that? Do you think about that? Is that the focus?
No, the focus is really on the race today. I mean, with the changing conditions, this is really an interesting hour that we have ahead of us. Hopefully an interesting hour for the spectators and TV viewers as well. And we'll just see. I mean, yeah, we hopefully have sorted out our strategy okay, and we'll see if a shower comes or not, and focus forward, and then we'll see what the end brings. So probably in the last lap we'll have a look at what it all means.
Okay, now one thing, of course, our eyes are focusing on the tires. Is there anything about the strategy you can let us know? We just found out that Gary Paffett, for example, is going on blue. So what about Marco?
I think more or less everybody is going on wets because it's really wet. And I think to go on slick tires now is quite an adventure. But depending on whether shower moves in or not, we will definitely see at some stage then moving on to dry tires, and then it's going to be very interesting.
Well, in front of this man, Marco Wittmann in P6 will be the Audi man Miguel Molina. The Spaniard will do everything he can to ensure his fellow Mark drivers Ekstrom, Mortara and Rockenfeller still have a theoretical chance of the title at the end of the race. He'll make it as difficult as possible for Wittmann to pass. Mercedes driver Daniel Juncadella starts alongside Molina. The Spaniard has well and truly arrived in the series after scoring his first DTM points of 2014 in the previous race at the Nürburgring. He came 5th in the Eifel and would like to do even better here in Lausitz. A solid Audi block begins with the second row. Timo Scheider starts from P4. The experienced ex-DTM champion will be delighted to end Audi's long drought and secure the constructors' first win in more than a year. He will have another Audi ace alongside him in the shape of the orange livery of Jamie Green. Now, it's been a disappointing season for the British star with just one convincing performance, and it was P2 at his all-time favourite Norrisring. A victory here at the Lausitzring would be a big consolation for Jamie Green. And in second place, we will see Matthias Ekstrom, the man who is second only to Marco Wittmann in the championship. If he wins, the Swede will have done everything he personally can do to maintain his slim hopes of the driver's title. The Mercedes youngster, though, Pascal Wehrlein, he will be doing his level best to prevent that. The youngest DTM driver of all time is now also the youngest pole sitter in DTM history and is determined to become the youngest DTM winner of all time as well. Here at the Lausitzring, Wehrlein could yet go down in series history for not one, but two reasons. Okay, so the car's away on the formation lap. Very, very damp conditions. It's not raining at the moment, but lots and lots of water down there on the track. We're being advised that everyone is running on wet weather tyres, with the exception of Eduardo Mortara, who's taken a gamble and will be running on slicks. Interesting strategy from his team. We'll see if that pays off. Looking at that track surface at the moment, I think it'll be a long while before the slicks come into their own. Wipers going to try and get rid of the spray on the windscreens. There's Marco Wittmann, the man that could become champion this weekend here at the Lausitzring. Let's take a look at the grid once again. So Pascal Wehrlein with an impressive pole position, a 1:17.547. Then it's Eki, Green, Scheider, Juncadella, Molina, Wittmann, Paffett, Glock, Rockenfeller, Vitoris and Robert Wickens. That's the first page of the starting grid, with all the tyre indicators showing blue, with the exception of the man that's on the top of the second page, Eduardo Mortara, going from P13. You can see the yellow indication there on the graphic indicates that Eduardo Mortara decides to go with a slick tyre. Wonder if that will come to him in the early stages of the race. Well, we're not far from finding out as the cars snake their way back to the grid. The tension begins to build for Audi, for BMW, and also for Mercedes-Benz. We'll throw the lights to the top of the screen. When the lights go out, we are away and racing now. And Pascal Wehrlein, brilliant start from him. Perfect getaway. Ekstrom remains almost stationary. He's going backwards. Juncadella roars up to second from 5th. The Audi pair, Green and Scheider. Sensationally, the Mercedes man, Christian Vitoris, is up to 5th place. He's made a gigantic start and moves up effectively 6 places from P11. Vitoris has Ekstrom tucked in behind him, and the championship leader, Marco Wittmann, who retains his starting position, P7. So here comes Pascal Wehrlein, Danny Juncadella, Timo Scheider on the move, and Marco Wittmann as well. Let's go on board with Marco Wittmann as Matthias Ekstrom, right ahead of him there, is back in the mix of it now following that disastrous start for Matthias Ekstrom. So back on board with Marco Wittmann. You can see how much spray is being thrown up here, and still very, very damp conditions. The wet weather tyres clearly the right choice, and you can see right at the bottom of the pack Eduardo Mortara, the yellow indication meaning that he is on that slick tyre. So Pascal Wehrlein already has built up a nice cushion right at the head of the pack. Let's get a replay of the start then, and Wehrlein gets away well. Matthias Ekstrom was seemingly bogged down in the second part of the start, really. The others are flying, though, including Christian Vitoris. He was a man on a charge right into turn 1 now, and Danny Juncadella right alongside Pascal Wehrlein. Jamie Green right in the mix as well. As the rest of the DTM stars come through into turn 1. Smiles there from Audi. Reasonable nod of the head from Mercedes-Benz. Let's see it from on board with Bruno Spengler as he gets past Vitaly Petrov. And 2, 3, 4 cars. Brilliant start from Bruno Spengler. Maxime Martin just ahead of him to his right. Then is the struggling Edo Mortara from P13 on the slick tyres. There we can see Vitaly Petrov coming around the outside of Bruno Spengler. We saw Spengler take him just moments prior to that. Here's Martin Tomczyk, who's having to play catch-up now, and this is the reason that Martin Tomczyk is having to play catch-up. As we see in replay, into turn 1, gets turned around, aided by his fellow BMW driver Bruno Spengler. Let's see it from on board. There you can see just a little touch there, and that's enough in these damp conditions to send the car around. Just look at the lead that Pascal Wehrlein has. Just under 4 seconds from Christian Vittoris, who's up to P2. What a remarkable start from Christian Vittoris. And Jamie Green, P3. We're on board with the man that is P7 at the moment. That's Marco Wittmann, who, of course, is going to have to drive this race very much with his head. Now, Matthias Ekström, who's the closest to him, goes off. Ekström through the gravel. Well, that is disaster for Matthias Ekström. Just seemed to put one wheel on the grass, and in such damp conditions, that's absolutely enough. In fact, Ekström's rallycrossing skills helping him to keep that car pointing in the right direction as Robert Wickens gets past Miguel Molina, and so too is Paul de Resta going through as well. So the Mercedes really showing their dominance here, and the conditions really to the liking of Mercedes-Benz. So still the early stages of this race, and well, this man is absolutely on a charge. Pascal Wehrlein then, as he crosses the timing line, he has a huge margin, 4.7 seconds over the second place Christian Vittoris. And that's where Matthias Ekström then, with just one wheel on the grass, the very, very slippery grass, ends up going off onto the gravel, and did jolly well to be able to hold it and point it in the right direction as Wolfgang Ulrich shakes his head in despair. Well, Marco Wittmann must be rubbing his hands with invisible soap because his nearest championship challenger went off the road. Wehrlein leads, and here he is, 5 seconds to the good in the Guix liveried Mercedes-Benz. And round goes Jamie Green. Could just see that he was carrying so much speed on the exit of that turn that the back end stepped out into a spin. He loses places. Marco Wittmann goes by. I think Timo Glock is going to be denied. Well, it was a brilliant save from Jamie Green as well to be able to hold on to that. We go on board with him now, and he now sees Marco Wittmann ahead of him. And this is it again in slow-mo. He was chasing down Christian Vittoris. Just lost traction, but that save was remarkable from Jamie Green. Let's see it from on board. Absolute perfect donut, and manages to stop it in exactly the right direction. Of course, that means Danny Juncadella goes past, and Timo Scheider as well, and Marco Wittmann, but Timo Glock not managing to get past, so Jamie Green is now P6. This is Danny Juncadella, P3, Timo Scheider right behind him, P4, and Marco Wittmann, P5. And in comes Bruno Spengler, serving a drive-through penalty for his part in the incident with Martin Tomczyk. There, the graphics indicating that being penalised for pushing another car, and that's going to send him just even woefully further back down the order. Bruno Spengler serving his drive-through penalty. This man, though, with some 6.2 seconds cushion, Pascal Wehrlein, absolutely having a brilliant time of it. Supreme start from Christian Vittoris, who himself has built up a nearly 3.5 second gap over P3, Danny Juncadella. Now, Danny Juncadella's doing a brilliant job here of backing everyone else up and allowing Wehrlein and Vittoris to get ahead. So it is a brilliant Mercedes-Benz effort at the moment. The spray still being chucked up. Can't see any dry line at the moment. Here's Jamie Green then on Marco Wittmann. Wittmann wise there not to defend too hard. No point getting involved in any skirmishes at all. With Gary Paffett having a bit of a moment there. Manages to get it all together and get going again, though, for Gary Paffett. This is Christian Vittoris. He's just taken a little bit out of Wehrlein. And Danny Juncadella then. Marco Wittmann now fighting back against Jamie Green. So there is Danny Juncadella, P3. Timo Scheider is P4. Then we see Jamie Green, who's fought back up to P5, and this is how he did it. Just dived up the inside of Marco Wittmann, which Marco chose not to defend that too vigorously. As I say, driving very much with a mature head on his shoulders, as all eyes on the championship, of course. So Jamie Green gains another place. And Antonio Felix da Costa is out on the grass. Now, he was down there P17. Now, where's their contact between Antonio Felix da Costa and Adrien Tombe? Not sure from that camera angle, we can see it from here. No, I think the slide was on from Antonio Felix da Costa before Tombe maybe just slightly glanced the BMW of Antonio Felix da Costa as the snatch vehicle very quickly on the scene to rescue that car, which means we avoid a safety car. Here in replay, it's Mike Rockenfeller and Timo Glock jostling for positions here and getting quite physical out there as Mike Rockenfeller determined to get past, and from Robert Wickens it looks even more forceful, doesn't it, as Timo Glock loses out on 2 places there. There's Danny Juncadella, Timo Scheider and Jamie Green, and Mike Rockenfeller now has Marco Wittmann in his target sights. So it is the 2013 champion right behind the man that could become the 2014 champion here at the Lausitzring. We're on board with Mike Rockenfeller at the moment, chasing down the Ice Watch BMW of Marco Wittmann, trying to find a way through and does so. Wittmann is really driving sensibly and driving with his head here and not getting involved in too much heavy-duty defending, because it's points that count for Wittmann. Already goes into this with a healthy margin. Robert Wickens trying to have a go now and has got the drive, certainly, and into turn 1. So both Rockenfeller and Robert Wickens managing to get past Marco Wittmann. So that sees him go down another couple of places. And we're on board with Marco Wittmann now as he works his BMW. He's not going to be challenged by Timo Glock, fellow BMW driver behind, of course, on lap 9 of 52 in this DTM round here at the Lausitzring. So that's the order on the left-hand side of your screen. Wehrlein leading from Vitoris with some 10.5 seconds. Now, this is a replay of Mike Rockenfeller setting that move up. And Marco Wittmann certainly not vigorously defending that. See it from on board with Mike Rockenfeller as well. Just switches to the inside there. The gap was left by Wittmann. Wasn't ever going to have a problem in terms of going through. And this was Robert Wickens then who got the draft off the back of Wittmann on the start-finish straight. And they head into the left-hander, which is turn 1. And now Wickens having a go at Mike Rockenfeller. This in replay, and he makes that work. So Wickens just nibbling away at Mike Rockenfeller as Marco Wittmann now tries to get past as well. He has the right-hander. He'll be wrongly placed for that. Let's see it from on board with Robert Wickens. And a bit of nudging going on between the two of them there into the left-hander at turn 1 here at the Lausitzring. So Wehrlein leading with very nearly 11 seconds over Christian Vitoris, P2. Danny Juncadella is P3. And Robert Wickens, well, his Mercedes really coming to him now as he's hounding Jamie Green. And this the battle for P5. And Green's off on the grass again. That allows Robert Wickens to go by. And once again, Jamie Green. Well, it wasn't a spin like earlier. He just put one wheel on the grass, the slippery grass. That was enough to send him off. And again, Jamie Green's supreme experience allows him to get back out on track, but not before he loses a whole heap of places. So all the hard work Jamie Green had done in recovering from his spin counts as naught now as he's back down to P11. With Matthias Ekström behind him now. And Eki just with a little tap on Jamie Green there. The Hoffman Group Audi having gone off onto the gravel. Let's see it. So one wheel on the painted white lines, then onto the Astro, supremely slippery. Then he's having to pull that car out of the gravel. And on board from Jamie's car. Manages to keep the momentum, which is, see the stones being chucked up all over the windscreen there. Just means that he is able to get the car out of the gravel. He doesn't remain beached, but he's seen a whole pack of cars go past him, including Timo Glock and Augusto Favas and Paul de Resta. Matthias Ekström didn't manage to get past at that stage. So there's Mike Rockenfeller going through ahead of Marco Wittmann. So Rocky is P6, Wittmann is P7. Then it's Favas, Glock under pressure from Paul de Resta. And car number 12, Robert Wickens, being shown the black and white warning flag as Jamie Green just avoids contact there with Timo Glock. Is that enough for Matthias Ekström? Or just a little touch between Eki and Jamie Green there as well. And all this playing into the hands of Molina a little bit as they all run off wide. Jamie Green, look, weaving from side to side, defending his position from the hard-charging Matthias Ekström. Eki, of course, off earlier in the race, trying to wrestle it all together. This is Nico Müller. And it looks like it's a retirement from Nico Müller. Yet being guided into the garage. That's the end of that driver's campaign here at the Lausitzring. But it's hotting up between Timo Glock and Jamie Green. As Jamie Green, it's a daring move. That's where he went off just a little while ago, but he made it work for him on that occasion and has got past Timo Glock. Matthias Ekström is the next in the order, trying to get past the yellow Deutsche Post BMW. Not able to do so at the moment. 15 of 52 laps. There's contact between the two. You can see just a piece of bodywork being flung up there. And, well, Timo Glock losing out on 2 places in 1 hit, it looks like there, because both Ekström and Molina have gone through. Pascal Wehrlein leading with very nearly 11 seconds over Christian Vitoris, who in turn is 9 seconds ahead of Danny Juncadella, the 1-2-3 Mercedes-Benz. What a race thus far for the Mercedes-Benz. Mark? So this camera following the progress of Miguel Molina and Timo Glock through turn 1. Then it's Maxime Martin. And there you can see that is the contact in replay between Matthias Ekström and Timo Glock. And that allowing Miguel Molina to get a bit of a charge alongside Glock and go through as well. So Timo Glock losing out 2 places at that point. And this in replay as Jamie Green and Timo Glock get together. And that's how close they get. So Jamie Green really battling hard. Hans-Jürgen Abt on the pit perch, looks on. Okay, in comes Glock, Tombe, Petrov and Martin all into the pits. And it's drive-through penalties for Tombe, for Petrov and for Martin for speeding under yellow flags, but sadly it's a retirement for Timo Glock. So even after the drive-through penalty, Martin is still ahead of Paffa in P18, showing just how badly things are going for the ex-champion right now. Robert Wickens is P5, also handed a drive-through penalty. He too failing to reduce his speed under yellow flags. The Canadian only losing 2 positions and rejoins in P7 between Mike Rockenfeller and Augusto Farfus. Now these are bitter moments for Mercedes. Juncadella on course for the podium, but he too being penalised for the same reason as Wickens. Drive-through penalty here costs around 17 seconds. So where is Juncadella going to come out? He's effectively only going to lose 1 place to Timo Scheider. So P4 it is now for Danny Juncadella as Paul de Resta charges on Augusto Farfus. That for P8 and P9 at the moment, with Mike Rockenfeller ahead of them. We go on board with Robert Wickens now. He's charging against Marco Wittmann. Wickens is P6, Wittmann P5. And here we can see just how close Robert Wickens. Now his car really has come to him over the course of the race so far, but Marco Wittmann defends heavily, and Wickens not able to get past as they return to the infield section of the circuit here off of the original tri-oval that is the Euro Speedway here at Lausitzring. On board once again with Robert Wickens chasing down the Marco Wittmann. Under investigation, the incident between Mike Rockenfeller, car number 1, and also Timo Glock. As now Bruno Spengler comes into the pits and switches to option tyres at the earliest possible opportunity. Soft slicks may be only used for a maximum of 50% of the race distance. Now the team are gambling on the race failing to go the full distance because of the weather conditions, as Robert Wickens does get past Marco Wittmann. So that elevates Wickens up to P5. Wittmann becomes P6. And Rocky is there in P7. Paul de Resta is P8, Augusto Farfus P9. On board then with Marco Wittmann, who is P5 as he crosses the timing line. Wehrlein has 8.5 seconds over Vitoris. That's come down as the team prepare for Marco Wittmann. And, oh, Jamie Green just touches Martin Tomczyk, and Green is round again. And that, I think, is the 3rd time that Jamie Green has been having to rescue the car from the wrong direction as Paul di Resta lines up Marco Wittmann now. Wittmann P6, di Resta P7, and di Resta on a charge in the Mercedes, all over the back of Marco Wittmann's BMW. Now, I've been really impressed with how Marco Wittmann has handled this pressure. He's not got involved in any skirmishes and is preferring just to be safe and bank points. And I suspect that Paul di Resta might be able to find a way past Marco Wittmann. Dives up to the inside here, going into turn 6, which takes us off the oval, back onto the infield section of the Lausitzring circuit. And yes, he's done enough to go through. Marco Wittmann choosing not to defend too vigorously, and that's wise. You can see on the graphics to the left-hand side of your screen, both Mortara and Spengler, the only 2 drivers out there that are on the option tyres at the moment. Everyone else preferring to be on the wets and staying on the wets. And now Marco Wittmann under pressure from Mike Rockenfeller for the 2nd time in this race here at the Lausitzring. On board with Mike Rockenfeller as he powers his Audi through. Wehrlein leading by 7.5 seconds. Then there's another 10 seconds before Timo Scheider, who of course is P3 now following Danny Juncadella's drive-through penalty. So midpoint of the race, with the track trying out the action in the pit lane, fast and furious drivers all aiming to go for it on fresh option tyres. Farfus, Green and Matthias Ekström all in. We're watching the Matthias Ekström pit stop. Oh, and the gun is still on the wheel. The gun was still on the wheel of Matthias Ekström's car. I suspect that wheel may not be secure. Augusto Farfus, yes, Eki is slowing and he parks it up. Now, bear in mind that Eki, one of only 2 drivers that could even challenge Marco Wittmann for any chance of the championship, and those chances looked slim. Well, his race looks to be over. Matthias Ekström, as we see him walking away from his car, his race done and dusted. As we watch the replay, Verena has managed to catch up with him, and let's find out firsthand how he's feeling right now.
Eki, how frustrating is it for you if something like that happens in a pit stop?
Yeah, I mean, it's for sure it's not nice, but it's not so much I can do now. I mean, I think it was last year, it happened once as well, and this year again, so not so nice for sure. I mean, still, we were not racing for the win, but we were racing for a top 5 probably, so it's a race weekend to forget. Still, qualifying was good, so that's what we take with us.
Okay, here is champion-elect then, Marco Wittmann. Let's hope the stop is trouble-free for the BMW man. Certainly looks to be the case as away he goes now. Manages to get out just ahead of Mike Rockenfeller. And they feed themselves back out onto the track. Now, the danger man here could be Augusto Farfus, who manages to get past Mike Rockenfeller and slips in between him and Marco Wittmann, and that means he goes P9. Car number 7 going to be reported to the stewards of the meeting for unsafe release. No surprise there then, as Pascal Wehrlein, the leader, comes into the pits. If it all goes well, he's very nearly home and dry because of the margin he had right at the front of the pack. So the Hankooks go on the slick weather tyres and Pascal Wehrlein away. And, well, there you can see absolutely nothing on the start-finish straight as Pascal Wehrlein makes his way back out onto the track. Drive-through penalty for car number 21, Jamie Green. Just adding to his woes. And here is Jamie Green battling with fellow Brit Gary Paffett. There's a Mercedes in the middle of that Audi sandwich. Adrian Tombe involved in that as well, and Gary Paffett losing a bit of the rear end there, as you can see. And misfortune also striking for Paul di Resta. Car really dipping down in the gravel there, and just, I don't know whether you noticed, he was struggling to steer it as he made his way back out onto the track, and I fear that's a broken track rod. And I can't imagine that that was caused at that point on the circuit, just when I think he was already not being able to steer, which is what caused him to go off, to be truthful. Here he is, though, retiring the car. Great shame for Paul di Resta. Let's see in replay where we think the track rod problem may have occurred. Now, this is Marco Wittmann, who's aiming to get past Paul di Resta. Does so absolutely cleanly. There's nothing between them. Doesn't appear that Paul actually touches the wall at that point, so it could just be a track rod failure, not brought about by any contact at all. They've been quite anonymous in the race is Joey Hand, as we see him going for a pirouette there. See it in replay here. Gets up the inside of Mike Rockenfeller, but ends up doing a 360, and then in the other direction. Meantime, the anticipation building in the Ice Watch garage as well. A retirement for Jamie Green. Such a bizarre race. He's not going to finish. Battle for second, remaining tense though between Timo Scheider, who has reeled in Christian Vitouris and is piling on the pressure. So Timo Scheider having a brilliant race here. And now he gets right alongside Christian Vitouris. Vitouris has got the better line here. He's going to defend the line into turn one. Up the inside, he'll then dive to the outside if he can. Timo Scheider absolutely blocks that at the moment, so they both run as close to the wall as they can. Before turn one, we are on the last lap here at Lausitzring. There is tension on Mr. and Mrs. Wittmann. Marco's parents there in the garage, Herbert and Angelika Wittmann. And this is the man, Marco Wittmann, looking cool and composed in the car. He really has driven this race with an extremely mature head, not getting involved in unnecessary skirmishes and aggressive defense. He has one more lap to complete, and he will become the 2014 DTM champion. Pascal Wehrlein has driven a supreme race as he heads towards the checkered flag and a fine victory. The youngest DTM winner in history. He will become Pascal Wehrlein as he heads up towards the line now. The checkered flag is in sight for Pascal Wehrlein. And Pascal Wehrlein takes the win to become the youngest DTM winner in history. He does it in style too, an assured light stuff flag victory for the 19-year-old. The battle for second place, Christian Vitouris. Is he going to be able to hold off Timo Scheider through to the flag? Yes, he does. It becomes a Mercedes 1-2. And Marco Wittmann covers the last few yards en route to his maiden DTM driver's title. An extraordinary achievement for the young Franconia native. He has left his rivals trailing in his wake this season. He has been the outstanding driver this year and is going to become the new and youngest ever DTM champion as he heads towards the checkered flag. For 2014, Marco Wittmann becomes champion. He is overawed with emotion inside the car and also really enjoying the moment. The RMG team, and why not, there the tears in the eyes of our 2014 DTM champion Marco Wittmann. I've said it more than once and I make no apology for saying it again. He has had a stellar season, and the way that he has driven today just proves as a racing driver how mature he is, and he is the 2014 DTM champion. Another man that will be utterly thrilled is Jens Marquardt.
Marco Wittmann is a DTM champ 2014. How happy could you be?
Well, I didn't do a job, they did a job, Marco did a job, the team, everybody. Fantastic, fantastic. Tough race today, really hot out there. A lot to talk about afterwards, but in the end it doesn't count. We won the championship, Marco won the championship, and this is fantastic.
Well, naturally, the joy and delight will be unbounded, and if he puts a small dent in the roof after such an extraordinary season, who cares? Here's the new champions, proud mum.
Here she is, the mother of Marco. Sind Sie stolz auf Ihren Sohn? Was geht in Ihnen gerade vor?
Total stolz. Ich kann es gar nicht in Worte aussprechen. Also wir sind alle happy.
So his mother said she's very, very proud, absolutely happy, obviously. And did you think that he could make it today? Haben Sie damit gerechnet, dass er es heute schafft?
Wir haben es gehofft, es war schwer durch das Regen noch. Also wir waren ein wenig so im Zwiespalt, aber umso besser ist es jetzt.
Absolut herzlichen Glückwunsch. Obviously said they were hoping he would make it today, but they weren't quite sure. But he did. He is the new champ 2014, Marco Wittmann. What a job he did.
Indeed he did, and thanks for the translation. You can see Wittmann there on 128 points. That's a lead of some 69. Battle for second, third, fourth, going to be very interesting though.
Marco Wittmann obviously just hugging his mother. Such an emotional moment. Tears flowing. Obviously, I don't want to interrupt there right now. But here he is, the new DTM champ 2014. Marco, just quickly, how happy could you be?
Amazing, amazing feelings. It was a tough race, very, very difficult. I tried to stay out of contact with everybody, but yeah, just amazing. So many emotions. Finally, we did it, and it's just great.
This really was your masterpiece today.
Yeah, for sure. It was great.
Well done, champion. Right, the classification from the race here at the Lausitzring. Pascal Wehrlein, whose historic victory slightly overshadowed perhaps by Marco Wittmann's equally historic title triumph. But Pascal Wehrlein wins the race. Let's hear from him now with Verena.
Quite honestly, you look so calm. What is going on inside of you?
Yeah, I'm quite happy inside.
I hope so.
Yeah, it was amazing. The whole weekend, I mean, yesterday in free practice it was not that good. In qualifying I did the pole, and in the race it was quite tricky at the start. Yeah, but then at the end we won. Thanks to the team. I think they did an amazing job. Pit stop went well, strategy was good, so I cannot complain today.
And nor can this man. Christian Vitoris, he started P11, finished P2. A terrific drive, and now up to P2 in the championship as well.
Incredible weekend, having struggled a little bit in qualifying, only P11. We had an amazing start to the race. I at least overtook 5-6 cars. Had a very good opening lap as well. I finished first lap on P2, and from there on I just managed to get behind. Pascal was just incredibly fast today. Impossible for me to catch up. So congrats to Pascal as well. But yeah, I mean, with the second place, I'm really happy. Very important points for me.
And Timo Scheider keeps the flag flying for Audi with his first podium finish of 2014. It wasn't the top step, but the veteran is still satisfied.
It feels good, after such a long time being back on the podium. I had a couple of races and years which have been quite difficult for me. I changed the team to Phoenix Racing, and we made it right now up to the podium again, and that feels good. Good for the team, good for myself, and for sure, from the Audi side, we are aiming always for victories. That wasn't the case today, but overall, we have still 2 more races to go, and I will fight for the best, and hopefully we can achieve it.
Well, not wishing to take anything away from Pascal Wehrlein's fine victory, the happiest man at the Lausitzring has to be this man, Marco Wittmann, who can hardly ever have been so utterly delighted with P6 as he continues to enjoy the celebrations that come with becoming the DTM champion for 2014. Mega Marco.
What an amazing race weekend. We have a new DTM champ, and it is Marco Wittmann, and these are his boys who actually helped him to win. And all we can say is Mega Marco. That really was phenomenal. We haven't had that since 2001, that at the 8th race weekend already the champ was decided. So he did such a brilliant job. All of you guys did such a great job. And now, of course, we're looking forward to seeing you in Zandvoort. So till then, bye-bye.